Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. So for today's video, we're going to go ahead and answer another one of you guys' questions. Hopefully we get to you guys some good answers, and yeah, let's get into it. Oh, but actually before we get into it, just a quick disclaimer as always that I am just a random dude on the internet posting videos to try to help you guys, but nothing that I post is meant for production stuff. I'm just doing this to kind of show what I've learned and hopefully help you guys in the process. But please do your own research and understand what you're doing before you copy and paste code into your own environment. All right, let's get into it. So in one of my other videos, the Salesforce invoking Apex REST HTTP get callout video that we see here on my screen, I got a question from this person right here. And they said, I have a question. If I want to call this request by actions bot, how can I do that? And after a little bit of clarification by what they meant, it turns out that they want to be able to do a HTTP callout using the Einstein Bots. And of course, I did respond, and I even provided a link to a Stack Exchange that kind of goes over how to kind of get that done. But I figured it might be a good idea to make it into the video. So, hopefully it can reach and help some more people out. But a quick disclaimer on this whole thing. I myself have actually never worked with an Einstein bot before in any Salesforce orgs that I've worked in the past. So everything you're about to hear and see is basically me just doing like a few hours of Google research and, understanding enough to do it. So, if there are better ways of doing what I'm about to show, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section down below. And yeah, let's get into it. So first things first, in my Trailhead org, I think we'll start by creating our HTTP callout that will be responsible for, calling an endpoint and getting some data back so that we can use it in our Einstein bot. So I'm going to jump into my VS Code. I already have a project set up. The first thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to create an Apex class. So very quickly, I'll run the command to create an Apex class, and I'm going to call this just action bot, I guess. It doesn't really matter. So we created an Apex class for that. And what we want to do is we want to create that method to do so. But very importantly, whenever you want to create code and you want that code to be run, whether it be by a flow or process or an Einstein bot, you have to make use of the invocable method annotation. And I think I've gone over this in the past quite a bit. So I'll link those video links down in the description box below instead of going all over, instead of kind of recapping what invocable methods and variables are. But in a nutshell, putting in an annotation on an invocable, or putting the invocable method annotation on an Apex method will let that process or that flow utilize that method, if that makes sense. So yeah, let's kind of get started with that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close up the constructor. I'll just leave it there, even though I'm pretty sure we're not going to need it. But first things first, let's create a public static method. And in case you aren't aware about invocable methods, they can only return a list of objects or a list of objects, which again, I'm not going to get too into. But for now, I think we'll just return a list of strings just to keep things very simple. And we'll call this something like callout or something. It doesn't really matter again. So there is our method. And like I was said, we have to create or do the annotation. And this is going to be called invocable method like so. And in here, we have to pass in some information. So we'll give it a label that we can identify it in our Einstein bot. So I'll just call this do callout. The next one, it can be like a little description. And the description will also be does a callout. I don't really know what to put there. And the last will be a Boolean indicating that we are doing a callout. So callout equals true. All right. So inside of here, I'm going to create a list of strings, and we'll just call this like response. Or actually, since I'm going to be making use of the animals callout that the Trailhead on Apex callouts provides for us, since I don't really feel like spitting up my own HTTP API to basically get information for us. If you don't know what that is, it's this module right here. If you just search up Trailhead and Apex REST callouts, you'll find it. And if we scroll down here, you'll see that they provide us this endpoint, which just retrieves like a list of animals, I believe. It's not really anything important, but it provides us with some endpoint that we can call and get information from. And I'll probably just kind of copy this because the whole point is to show how it works with Einstein and not really to build our own endpoint or even do the callout itself. I do have quite a few videos at this point on how to do callouts, so feel free to look those up on my channel. But anyways, so yeah, we'll make use of this. So back in our code, we'll have a list, and I'll just call this like animals or something. And we'll instantiate that, so list of strings like so. And just so we don't forget to do that at the end, we'll just return those animals at the end. And then in between these lines of code, we'll do our actual work. So first things first, and again, I'm not going to do like any crazy like error handling or anything. We're just going to assume that this endpoint is always working and it's always returning correct things. Because again, like how I said, this is not production grade code, and I'm not trying to show you guys this. This is more just the concepts. But anyways, so we'll create a new HTTP object like so. And then right after that, we'll create an HTTP request object. So HTTP request, and we'll just call this request like that. And then after that, let's go ahead and populate our request properties. So we'll do the set endpoint like so. And then the endpoint will just kind of be that thing that we just talked about, this endpoint right here. So copy that in, paste that there. Afterwards, we also want to set the method. So set method, I believe it's called. And this will be just a get because we're getting information from it. And I think that's all we need. So after that, let's create an HTTP response object. And we'll just call this response. And we'll send the request over. So yeah, we're just going to send the request like so. And again, we're kind of just going to assume. But I think this endpoint, if it successfully return something, it does a response code of like 200 or so. So I guess we'll just do some simple checking. So we'll say if response, if I can type the response, and we're going to get the status code. So status code, and if that's equal to 200, then we'll kind of do something. So if it's 200, then we kind of want to parse, whatever we got from the endpoint. And this is where I kind of go in and I kind of copy code. Because like how I said, this is not the whole point is to show how this works with the Einstein bot. So very quickly, we'll paste this in right here. And just to kind of go over it really quickly, if we got a response code of 200, which means success, and we got stuff back probably, then what we're going to do is we're going to pass in the body. So we go to the response and we go to the body, which is where the JSON is probably residing. So we pass that into this JSON.deserialize untyped method, and that's going to return us back this results thing, which is just a map of strings to objects. Once we have that, let me space this out a little bit. Once we have that, I'm going to go into the results map, and we're just going to get the animals object from that. And what that ends up being is just a list of objects, which we called animals. And then here on the line after, I just have this animal string called animal string variable. It's just empty. And I'm just going to iterate through this list of objects animals that we got. And as you can see here, I'm just kind of like doing very simple, or just adding it to that string and then adding a little comma at the end of it. And none of this really matters, but essentially I'm going to create like a string that kind of looks like an array. And at the end, we remove the last comma. Again, none of this really matters. Point is, we build up a string of animals, and then at the end, we just add it to our array that we denoted up top. And I just realized this is not response list. It should be called animals. So yeah, once again, basically, we get something from that endpoint, we parse it out, and then we throw it into this list of strings called animals up above. And then we return something. So yeah, this only happens if we get a successful 200. If not, we're going to return just an empty list of strings. So I think that's fine. Anyways, so we'll hit save, and let's go ahead and deploy this to our org. And I do apologize if it looks like I'm just kind of rushing a bit. Oh, and it looks like we got a mistake. But yeah, like how I said, if I'm just rushing because I just want to, again, just get out the whole point of the Einstein bot with this call out. So it looks like, I reused the same thing right here. So we'll just call this like animals response. That way there's no issue right here. And then we'll just update that as is like that. And I think that should be fine now. So let's deploy this to the org one more time, or try to. And there we go. So now it's success. So now the next thing we have to do is we have to basically whitelist this endpoint so that we can actually do the call out. And the way we do so is let's jump into our org. Let's go to our setup. And in the setup, we will type in remote, which will give us this remote site settings. And I'm pretty sure I've already created a remote site setting for it. It is right here, animals rest. But if you haven't done this before, just click on new remote site setting and give it a name, and then here give it the endpoint. So after you have that done, we need to go into our permission sets right here, and there may or may not be this permission set called sfdc.chatbot.service.perm set. I'm not sure if you have to activate the Einstein thing first. So actually, let's go ahead and do that. So let's type in Einstein Bots right here. And mine's already active. I see in the top right hand corner, Einstein Bots. Just make sure you activate it. And I think that'll make the permission set appear. I'm not sure how that works, but do this first. That way it's 100% sure that the permission set shows up. So anyways, now let's go back into our permission sets and look for the one that says SFDC chatbot service perm set. Click on that. And what we want to do is in here, go click on the Apex class access. And basically we're just giving the chatbot that access. You'll see here I've already done it with a previous example I was working on. But anyways, click on the edit. And we're going to look for the class that we just created and push into our org, which was ActionBot right here. And then I'll just add it to the list of enabled Apex classes, basically telling our bot that they can use this Apex class. So we'll hit save. Once that is good, then we can go back into our Einstein Bots. Click on that. And right here in this blue button, we'll just click on create a new bot. And for now, again, I don't have too much experience with Einstein Bots. I just kind of learned enough to get this question answered for you guys. So I'm going to kind of just gloss through the setup, but let's just create a standard bot. And we'll just do a start from scratch. Here we'll give it a name and we'll call this like Apex Callout dude, I guess. That doesn't really matter. Click next. And in here, this is like just a standard welcome message that you'll see populates right here. I guess that's fine. And then the top actions that your customers can take. So I guess we can do something like, I don't know, like do the call out thing. And I guess that's fine. We'll just leave it as is. We'll click next. We're going to just kind of skip this deployment thing because it's not really relevant to us for now. And we'll just click on proceed, which will create our bot for us. Once that is done, we're going to be presented with this site, this website right here. And I know it's like the first time I saw this like a couple days ago, I was like, what the heck is going on here? But it's not that bad. So on the top, on the left-hand side right here, you'll see that there's this thing called do the call out thing. And that was like that menu thing that we created a couple steps ago. The welcome thing right here is basically going to be the start, which is why you see a little house icon right there. Here's our main menu, which these things are kind of just like standard things that were created for us. Doesn't really matter too much. So what we're going to do is in our welcome menu. So what we're going to do here in this welcome section right here is right after, or actually on the next step itself, we're going to do just show a menu. And the thing we want to show is we'll do the call out thing. And then perhaps also like just like end the chat or so. So, right off the bat, the user will be presented with this, hi, I am Apex Callout dude, a digital assistant, and then it'll show them like the things that they can do. So that'll be fine. We'll hit save, and then let's start working on the actual do the call out thing. So we'll click on that on the left-hand side right here. And the first thing we want to do is just run the action. So, when this thing gets called, we're going to run an action. And then on the right-hand side, the type of action we're going to look for is, if I scroll down, I'm not sure why it's a bunch of empty space, probably broken. But anyways, we're going to click on Apex. It looks like we have two because I think I had already created one beforehand. But let's kind of get rid of this issue. So I'm going to go back to my code real quick. And what we're going to do is we're going to just change the label real quick. So we'll say like do the call out to kind of distinguish the Apex invocable methods. And I know this is very terrible naming scheme, but just bear with me. Anyways, so we deployed that change. Now I'm going to go ahead and refresh this page, which is fine. Okay, so now in the do call out, again, create a action. On the right-hand side, we're going to do Apex. And in here, now we have this differentiated do the call out. And then here you'll see that do the call is going to spit back out some output, right? And basically it's just this return that we have right here, right? It's going to return something. And it looks like it says it's returning a string, which is kind of weird because, we're actually returning a list of strings, but not sure why that is. If one of you guys does know, feel free to leave it down in the comment section below. But anyways, so we're going to store that output in a variable. So I'll just click on plus create new variable. And again, just make it a custom type. I think in the future, once I familiarize myself with more of this, I'll create more videos going over all the little intricacies and details of Einstein Bots. But for now, just create a custom type variable. And we're going to call this like animals response like that. And we should be good to go. It's not a list. It's just a string apparently because that's what it's outputting. So yeah, we're creating an animals response variable. Click save. And you'll see here that whenever this Apex method is called and it fires and it does its thing, it's going to output something and it's going to store it in this animal's response as a text. So we can do something with that. And now what we're going to do is let's create the next step. So we'll hit save right here. And what you can do is you can either like hover over like the middle right here and hope that something pops out. Sometimes it's kind of buggy. If that doesn't work for you, then you can go on the left hand side. There's this little dialog component library at the bottom. If you hit the plus sign, you get all these different options. We can just drag this message right here and put it in the middle. So after this thing fires, then the message will fire next. And on the right hand side, we can just type out something simple like here is your callout, I guess. And the way you show variables, you're going to use that's the squirrely bracket. I'm not sure what the official name is, and then an exclamation point, and then the name of that variable. So in our case, it was animal's response, like so. And I think that should do it. So yeah, if we hit save now, again, the way it's going to work is when our do the callout thing is clicked on from the user, the action will fire. It's going to fire that Apex method that was invocable, and it's going to spit back out some output, which is stored in our animal's response variable that we created. Then the message thing will show up, and it'll just say, here's your callout, and then it'll grab whatever was in that animal's response variable. And yeah, I think that's good. So as just kind of to clean up, last step, the next step will just be like, I guess we can like show a menu. So actually, no, let's do start another dialogue, and we're just going to end the chat just to kind of make things simple. Okay, we'll hit save, and now we can test it. So I'm going to go ahead and activate, and to like actually like preview it, I guess we can preview it as a rich content preview or just as the text preview. If we do rich content preview, it looks like we have to do like some additional setup, which we can do. It's not a big deal. So I'll hit setup chat right here, and we'll just kind of follow through. So I'm going to call this chat queue just like test queue, I guess. Oh, looks like there's already another one. So we'll call this like test queue 1. And we'll call this test group 1. Again, not too good use of naming convention, but it's okay for this demo. We'll click next. And I'll click next here. Again, I'm not really explaining this too much, just kind of going through it. And it looks like we have to provide a website URL. And for here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a Salesforce site. If you hover over this little indicator, it tells you like what this website URL could be. So, you know, ideally you would put this chatbot like on your actual like website if it's like customer facing or something. In this case, I don't have anything like that for this Trailhead org. So I'm going to just create a Salesforce site as is shown in this little indicator. To do that, let's go back here and let's type in site, I guess. Yeah, we'll click on sites right here. And I'm going to, I guess, since I was already using this one right here, so you see this one's called chat setup flow site. If I click on it, you'll see that this is the URL for it. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of copy that. And I guess I should also make it active. So we'll activate it. But just to kind of walk through what's going on here, we're basically just creating a Salesforce site for us. So again, if you click on site, you can create the new button right here. And when we do that, we're presented with this right here. So give it a label, give it a name, and do all that good stuff. So since I already have one, I'm going to just reuse this. So we're going to go back to our bot. I'll paste that there. And it should be HTTPS like so. So we'll click on next. And here it's asking us more stuff. Again, I'm just going to gloss through this. I'll just say just context is fine for now. And again, next. And again, feel free to let me know if this is like stuff that you guys would want to know more of. And if it is, I'll go ahead and study it harder and then give you guys more information when I have that. So again, just kind of going through it. Once we have that done, the preview button shows up here and we can click on chat with an expert. That should load up our little thing. Just give it a name for now. I'll just call this Chris M, and then just create a fake email, I guess. And then we should see our bot starting to do stuff. And there we go. Hi, I am Apex Callout Dude, a digital assistant. We can either do the call out or we can end the chat. Again, just to kind of go through how this is working. This is the welcome menu flow, or I'm not sure what to call this, dialogues perhaps. So you see right here, this is the message, then it shows the menu. If we click on end chat, it's going to just end the chat. If we click on do the callout thing, then our do the callout thing is going to fire right here. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll do the callout thing. This should fire right here. And you'll see here that here is our output, which is the message right here. And the thing is, here is your callout. And then these are the things that we got returned from that endpoint that we called. And then at the end, it just does the end chat step, which is right there. So yeah, I hope this is enough information to get you started and, you know, show you how to do or call an Apex method within your Einstein that just happens to do a call out. So yeah, I hope this helps. And one thing before I forget, when we were doing the setting up of the preview, there is one thing I kind of glossed over that kind of stumped me for a while. And that is when you're selecting the user, that user I believe has to have the chat permission enabled. So for example, that person was me, right? So for example, let's go into our users and we have this user that we chose, which is Marquez Jose. And you'll see here that we have this chat user thing enabled. And I'm pretty sure this has to be enabled for the person or people that you choose for your chatbot. So just make sure that you enable it for whoever you're choosing. If you don't want to go through that whole chat setup preview message, instead of using the rich content preview, you can just choose the text preview beta thing. And I think it just lets you kind of go through. It starts off as a blank thing, but if you just type in like anything into the thing, it will fire up your bot. It's not as pretty, but you know, it does work. So you see here that you can do the call out or you can end chat. Again, if we just press 1, it should do our whole thing right here. And it does indeed. It says here, here's your call out: majestic badger, fluffy bunny, scary bear, and chicken. So I think that works well enough. But yeah, I hope this helped you guys out. And again, let me know if you guys have any questions down in the comment section below. Let me know if you guys are wanting to see videos on any other Salesforce topic. And if you enjoyed this, feel free to like it, comment, share, and perhaps subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.